All right, sit down, hold your tea tight, because what just happened with the royal family is nothing short of jaw-dropping. I mean, Prince William opened up in the most emotional, raw way possible, and what followed left even King Charles in literal tears. Not misty-eyed, not blinking hard, actual, real tears. And you won't believe what caused it? It all started beneath the statue of the late Princess Diana. Yes, our people's prince. William stood there and there was just this electric silence. You know that kind of stillness where you feel like the universe is holding its breath? That was the vibe. Everyone watched, waiting. And then he said it. One day, I will become king. Don't let that change you. Yes, those were Diana's final words to him. Not in an interview, not in public, in private. At bedtime. A soft whisper from mother to son, and William just gave it to the world. It was like hearing her speak again, and the second those words left his mouth, it was as if time stopped. Let's talk about Charles. He was standing across the garden. The cameras panned to him, and oh my goodness, his eyes were brimming. He looked shattered, but in a royal way, in a very human, very real way. His lips were trembling, and you could literally see the wall he's built for decades just crack. And then a single tear rolled down his cheek. One slow tear. That's when you knew? This wasn't just about the past. This was something deeper. That one sentence from Diana had just cut right through years of history, heartbreak, and unspoken regret. Standing there with the statue behind him, William said, "My mother's voice has always been my compass." Chills. Legit chills, because in that moment, he wasn't just Prince William, he was Diana's boy, a son bearing his soul to the world, letting them see that behind every polished photo and perfectly tailored suit is a man who still misses his mom. And then came the stunner. Remember who you are, William. Don't let power change your heart. Do you feel that? That's your heart breaking just a little. Behind him, Charles and Camilla were stiff. It wasn't a speech anymore. It was a truth bomb wrapped in emotion, a legacy handed down, a moment of truth. He looked out at the crowd and said it clearly. The monarchy may evolve, but humanity does not. Today we honor love above titles. I mean, who is this man? Is this even real life? William didn't just say the quiet part out loud, he screamed it with his soul. Suddenly, this wasn't just a statue unveiling, it was a declaration. A rewriting of what royalty can mean. He paused again, and then he hit us with a personal moment no one was ready for. She looked at me and whispered, "One day you'll be king. Don't let it change you." Everyone leaned in. This wasn't a rehearsed speech. This was Diana speaking through her son. It wasn't public. It was a quiet bedtime hug. There were no cameras, no stage. It was real. Let that soak in. He's not just remembering her, he's living by her words, carrying her truth. And then he said, "Diana entrusted me with her truth, and now I pass that truth on to you." It wasn't gossip. It was a call to conscience. As William said those words, the camera caught Charles again. His face, oh my gosh, the pain was written all over it. He didn't even try to hide it anymore. His lip trembled, his eyes welled up, and when William quoted Diana, that was it. A tear slipped down, the King of England broke down, publicly. No words needed, just emotion, raw and heartbreaking. And just like that, the royal wall of restraint crumbled right before the world's eyes. Flashback time, the screen faded to a golden memory. A younger William holding Diana's hand in the Kensington Palace hallway, sunlight pouring in. She knelt, looked him in the eye and whispered, "Remember who you are." He said, "These moments weren't for the cameras. They were just Mom and me." That's what makes this story so powerful. It wasn't about crowns or duties, it was about hugs, bedtime chats, and being reminded to stay kind. Back to the present, William said one more thing that left everyone reeling. Privilege without purpose is empty. He admitted something most royals never would, self-doubt. That sometimes he wonders if he's let her down. Can you even imagine a future king saying that? With tears in his voice? But then came the moment that destroyed the internet. He walked to his father and didn't bow. No. He reached out his hand, a human gesture, not a royal one. And Charles? He took it. Then, brace yourselves, he hugged his son. Yes, you read that right. A real, emotional, no script, no protocol hug. Father and son reconnecting right there in public. The crowd gasped, not in shock, but in awe. This was new. This was real. The royal walls were down. For the first time in forever, it wasn't about the crown, it was about the heart. But wait, where was Camilla during all this? She was there, watching, but her face? Stone still, no emotion, no smile, no tears, just blank. People noticed. Some say she was holding it together. Others whisper she wasn't thrilled at being sidelined by this big emotional reunion. And when the crowd started clapping, she hesitated for real. The gossip mill kicked into overdrive. Was Camilla feeling overshadowed? Was this father-son moment a subtle power shift? Some insiders think she's playing it cool while strategizing behind the scenes. Oh yes, the palace is buzzing. There's talk of new alliances, private advisors, behind-the-curtain meetings. Because make no mistake, this emotional reset might be beautiful, but it's also political. Twitter, unhinged. Hashtags exploded. Diana legacy. De-embrace. Monarchy reborn. Clips of Charles and William hugging went viral. One tweet nailed it. We don't need pageantry. We need this. Real people, real feelings. Approval ratings soared. William's popularity through the roof. Even Charles saw a bump. But Camilla, the public wasn't sure. This wasn't just emotion, it was transformation. Some royal insiders are even talking reform. Should William have an official cultural role now? Should the monarchy soften permanently? And then enter Catherine. She didn't say a word, but oh, did she speak. Through her calm, through her knowing glances, through that gentle hand on William's back, she was the anchor, the unspoken strength, and everyone felt it. Insiders say Catherine's influence is growing, especially now. She's seen as the balance, the warmth, the steady heartbeat of this new era. Camilla, we hear, is privately asking her advisors, where do I stand now? And that, my friends, is the real cliffhanger, because this shift is seismic. Either she adapts or she risks being pushed aside as William and Catherine reshape what royalty means. The monarchy is at a breaking point. Or a rebirth. By the way, one thing is clear, the crown no longer rests on duty alone. It now rests on the human heart. The ceremony was over, the applause faded, but inside those palace walls, the emotional aftershocks were just beginning. You see, while the world was falling in love with a newly vulnerable King Charles and a soul-bearing Prince William, the people within the palace weren't all clapping. In fact, there was tension, and it was thick. Whispers started immediately. Staffers exchanged knowing glances. Advisors took private calls. And somewhere deep within the palace, Camilla reportedly slipped into a private salon and closed the door behind her. Alone. Why? Because this wasn't just a family moment. This was a public shift in royal power, and everyone knew it. Let's be honest, Camilla's silence during William's emotional speech was loud, and while she may have clapped later, politely, softly, almost mechanically, the hesitation was there. People noticed. Now, sources close to the Queen Consort say she wasn't upset by the sentiment, but by the spotlight. For years, Camilla had slowly rebuilt her public image, moving from scandal to stability. And now, one statue, one speech, one hug, and suddenly, Diana's presence was everywhere again. Insiders say Camilla later asked one of her senior advisors a simple but chilling question: is this my role now? To simply watch? That's not just a reflection. That's a queen questioning her position, and with good reason. The press didn't hold back. Front pages everywhere screamed headlines like, William channels Diana, a son's promise to his mother, the hug that moved a nation. King Charles cries the people's princess still reigns. And guess who wasn't even mentioned in some of those stories? That's right, Camilla, the Queen Consort herself. Even royal-friendly outlets began speculating whether this was the beginning of a Diana renaissance, a public reclaiming of her emotional legacy through her eldest son. Inside the palace, courtiers were taking notes. Real ones, because this wasn't just about feelings anymore, it was about influence. William's approval ratings surged to record highs after the event. He wasn't just popular, he was becoming untouchable. One royal insider was overheard saying, he's not just the heir now, he's the heart. Let that sink in. King Charles had just allowed himself a moment of public vulnerability, but William, he walked away from that ceremony not just loved, but believed in. People were already saying it. This is our future king. The monarchy, for once, looked relatable. Meanwhile, King Charles returned to Clarence House with the weight of the world. and the crown. Pressing down harder than ever, advisors close to him revealed he barely spoke that evening. Instead, he sat by the window, alone, quiet. He'd cried in front of the nation. He'd embraced a son he'd struggled to connect with for years. And now, he had to decide what kind of king he wanted to be. Stick with tradition or follow William's lead into this bold new age of emotional transparency. According to one anonymous aide, Charles murmured just one thing to himself that night. She would have been proud. He didn't need to say who she was. Monarchy at a crossroads, old guard versus new blood. What followed in the days after could only be described as a royal chess game. Behind the scenes, two factions quietly emerged within the palace. One, the traditionalists, old guard advisors who believed the monarchy should remain distant, stoic, and ceremonial. Two, the modernists, those who supported William's emotional appeal, saying it made the crown relevant, human, and sustainable. The tension was so palpable that even palace scheduling became complicated. Some events began to feature William and Catherine front and center, with Charles appearing only briefly. Others were reshuffled to feature Camilla subtly reclaiming ground. Whispers became worries. Was the family truly united or just pretending for the cameras? Catherine, the unseen anchor. And in the eye of that emotional storm, Catherine, she never gave a speech, she never issued a statement, but her presence, it was everything. While William bore his soul and Charles cracked, Catherine was the quiet strength holding everything together. At every glance, every nod, every small supportive touch, she reminded us, this is more than ceremony, this is family. And if William was Diana's voice, Catherine was the calm Diana always needed. Insiders revealed that Catherine personally helped William prepare his speech, even encouraging him to include Diana's words, saying, "If you don't share her now, when will you?" Honestly, goosebumps. But let's not forget the biggest royal question mark of them all. Camilla. Because behind those guarded smiles and tight-lipped reactions, something was stirring. Sources say she called a private meeting with her PR advisors. She wanted a new plan, a fresh strategy, something to remind the public and maybe the family that she still had a place in this evolving monarchy. What did that include? A string of planned public appearances, charitable outreach, even, reportedly, a long-form sit-down interview. Something real, something personal, something that would show her humanity too. But here's the catch. Can that ever measure up to Diana's legacy? Or is it already too late? The world responds. Is this the monarchy we need? Across the globe, people were asking the same question. Is this what the monarchy should become? Australia's Morning News described the moment as a turning point of humanizing leadership. Canada's media called it a long overdue emotional reckoning. Even in the United States, talk shows couldn't get enough. One viral clip showed an anchor tearing up and saying, "I never cared about royalty before, but this was real." Royal historians weigh in, experts are already calling it the emotional reset. According to one royal biographer, this moment redefined what it means to lead with grace. If Charles embraces it, he could go down as the monarch who bridged history with humanity. But not all are convinced. Some warn this kind of openness may weaken the monarchy's structure. One critic even called it a dangerous flirtation with populism. So who's right? The future, unity, or unraveling? In the days that followed, William and Catherine resumed royal duties, but something had shifted. Crowds cheered louder, conversations turned warmer, people seemed to lean in more. But deep in the palace halls, everyone knew the emotional floodgates had opened, and there was no closing them now. Charles had a choice to make. Camilla had a role to reclaim. And William, he had a path to continue walking, with Diana's words echoing in every step. Don't let it change you. Whether this was the start of a rebirth or a slow unraveling, only time will tell. But one thing is absolutely clear. The royals can no longer lead from the throne alone. They must lead from the heart. So now, tell me, what do you think is next? Is this the monarchy reborn or the beginning of its biggest identity crisis yet? Drop your tea in the comments, share this with your royal-loving friends, and make sure to stay tuned, because if you think that was dramatic, you haven't seen anything yet.